Have you ever finished your workday drained only to look at your to do list and feel like you have zero time or energy to get anything done? It is incredibly frustrating. But please, I need you to know something. Most entrepreneurs aren't stuck because they lack talent, ideas, or energy. They stay stuck because they're making one critical mistake. And in today's Q&A series, I'm going to answer your biggest question about why we spin our wheels. We're going to do a dive into how fear, lack of clear priorities, and operating without systems in place is keeping you in a race that feels like you're scrambling for the crumbles, and how you can finally break free of it. Okay, so I think a lot of entrepreneurs or would be entrepreneurs are stuck because they don't have the proper direction. There are so many directions to go to when you're starting a business, when you're running a business, or even when you're thinking about a business. There's very many roads to take. And sometimes well, actually, all the time, we don't know what we don't know. So, with that being said, if you don't know where you should be paying attention, you're just going to keep continuing on your own path. And how would you know if that path is the correct path? I mean, you can just trust your gut. A lot of people say, trust the process and those types of things. You can definitely do that. However, will you be spinning your wheels for years on end? Will you be spinning your wheels so much that you run out of gas and you no longer want to do it anymore? So I think a lot of times entrepreneurs are stuck because they really aren't on the correct road. Like they took an off ramp elsewhere that took them into some either deep or heavy traffic, or they're on a country road with no signs, of where to go. So I think that's a lot of times why entrepreneurs are stuck because they really just don't have that direction. The kind of mistakes that I see happening over and over again with the different entrepreneurs that I've talked to and work with, they really vary. I mean, they're as different as each individual. So I think it just depends because you could have one entrepreneur that has worked on their target audience, that has worked on their why, and those types of things. However, they might not have connected, a website to the why, and they maybe didn't put the about section to connect with their why. And it's just about connecting a lot of dots. It's almost as if you're doing a connect the dot picture that has maybe 300 dots that you need to connect, and they're all over the page, right? So those are things that we've done as a kid, that we had to find number one and then we had to find number two. However, as an entrepreneur, a lot of the times, and even though there is AI these days, and you can ask Google anything, and you can ask Chat GPT anything, we have to remember that the experience those tools will bring to you and the answers that they're going to provide you were programmed by human beings. That being said, there's only so much information that you can get to be able to get unstuck from a computer. Really, you need to be able to connect with someone that can, really just be able to discern the struggles that you've been going through. The reason why you're stuck here needs to kind of be deconstructed in a way that helps you understand how to get yourself unstuck. I think the most surprising thing to me as a coach for entrepreneurs and would be entrepreneurs is the fact that these people already have the answers. They literally already know what they need to do. They just haven't been asked the right questions in order to uncover that direction, uncover that reason, uncover the roadblock that they have inserted in their own road. that's blocking themselves. So I think, to me, I think that's one of the reasons why I like doing this job, is because just asking people questions helps them to understand where they're holding themselves up at. A lot of people go for the low hanging fruit first. So they feel like they need to get those business cards printed out, they need to get their logo done, they need to get their website in place, and that they probably might need to even hire somebody to help them work along with them so that they can make that money. And a lot of the times, uh, doing those things may feel like you're being productive, but you're actually most likely being anti productive with those things. Because really, when you go to create those things, there should have been a lot of forethought into the content that you're putting into those things that is going to be able to make a difference once you put it out there. And then we also have to remember that once you put a website up, it doesn't necessarily mean that someone is going, or anyone is going to run to it to find out who you are. Why you think you're doing all these major things and this is really going to move the needle, it might not have been the right path to take right away. So I think that's one of the bonuses of having a coach, to be able to, just walk you through those steps and ask you those things that you don't know that you should be asked. Okay, so the one thing that I think that entrepreneurs or would be entrepreneurs should do in order to move themselves forward is to definitely have a community of people who are trying or doing the same things that you're trying to do. And what I mean by that is that you really just need support. I mean, a lot of us start out doing it all by ourselves, and we find that, it's lonely doing this. It's lonely and it's hard. It's very difficult. This is one of the most difficult things that you're going to do. When people say the hardest part of looking for a job is actually looking for a job, right? And so the entrepreneurship is hard in itself, and you need that community that's going to rally around you, or that has the potential to rally around you, to be able to give you that wind behind your back when you don't have it for yourself. And there's going to be a lot of times when you're starting a business or when you're running a business where you're just not going to have it. You're not going to have it for yourself. You're not going to have it for the business. And I think you need to have a community that you can go to and be open and honest with the struggles that you're going through. And then you can get that feedback. You can get that inspiration, and I think a lot of times we just try to do it by ourselves. And that's where we're shooting ourselves in the foot. We're making ourselves a lame duck by trying to do everything alone and not getting that feedback, not having that support, and not having just different opinions to be able just to work through on your own to figure it out. And that's how you get yourself unstuck. You have other people that you can rely on. I think the momentum maker is the community that I wish I had when I was starting out as a copywriter, because I did all of the things that I thought was going to move me forward. I learned how to make a website, I learned how to build out those pages. I didn't define my target audience well enough. I didn't have anyone to be able to ask those questions to. What should I do next? And I think the momentum makers, it's a good mix of having, others in your area, like of in at your level of entrepreneurship, as well as people who are beyond that, or people who are below you. It's very good to have a good mix of people, people who haven't yet gotten to where you are, because you can go back and you can lend them a hand. You can give them advice based on the experience that you've had. And the people that are more ahead of you, so to speak, you can ask them for their advice. And not that you're going to take it, but at the same time, you could be learning valuable information that you can take and synergize into something that's going to help you get past that roadblock that you're struggling with at this particular time, whatever it is. Because to be honest, whenever you're starting a business, there's always going to be something, such as life. So when you have a community with people who are locked in for essentially the same reason, I think that that alone is a major thing that a lot of entrepreneurs or would be entrepreneurs could use at this point. Because I think lately we've been so individualized. Um, I would say the past 20 or 30 years, we've been so individualized as far as making things happen for ourselves. We got to pull an American term. We love to throw it around. I'm not one of those people, but they love to say, you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Well, the thing is, what if you don't have bootstraps? Then how are you going to pull yourself up, right? So, wherever that saying came from, it's just ridiculous all around to me. It's something I really hate to hear, and don't use it myself. But it's one of those things where you don't know what you don't know, so I think it's beneficial to be able to have a group of people or a community to go to be able to get those things that you need. So, on a final note, what's the one thing that every entrepreneur should probably stop doing today? If you're an entrepreneur, maybe you should stop relying on your pure willpower to figure out your priorities. Stop researching and start doing. One priority, choose it, and then execute it. If you need help figuring out exactly what is draining your focus so you can actually implement what we've talked about today, I want you to grab a copy of our free distraction diagnostic workbook. The link is in the description. Plus, I want to hear from you. What is your biggest roadblock that's keeping you stuck right now? Drop your questions and comments below, and I'll answer them in our next session.